Over.
Justin!
Tom.
Rachel.
Frank.
Badlands!
Oh wait, that's not the theme song anymore.
That hasn't
Thomas Donahue.
Do we got? Is it that funky noise machine now?
Is that weird? The weird thing that was the theme song the last time?
I like it a lot.
It's odd. It doesn't have the same like groove or rhythm as the first couple.
But it's got a certain
angry, itchy energy.
Yeah,
it's true. It's very like Big Black, like early Steve Albini.
A little bit of Primus, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's different. It's a different look. I think it fits our souls more.
A little bit.
With its agitated nature. This is a pretty aggro show.
Yes. We're very aggressive, Rachel.
Yeah, get ready. This is.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready.
So that's right. Our
I
guest.
will say, to the aggressive thing, we did end the last episode on me losing my mind in existential despair.
That was literally the last beat of the last episode. And we asked Frank if he was happy in life, and he said no.
Can we run the audio?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Well, we'll plug that in. We'll flash back. Last time on Plaid Lads.
I'm unhappy. My name's Frank. Oh boy. Oh jeez. Oh god. Oh boy.
But who is just happy?
Trump as president was my thing.
Oh, Frank Ixnay on the tray. Rachel's a big fan.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, so I get really defensive about certain things. Mm-hmm.
It's true. It's pretty touchy in that regard. Yes, we have a guest this week.
What?
Hey, look, it's Rachel.
Hey, Rachel.
Hello.
Hi.
Rachel. Insert last name here.
Turan.
There it
is. You don't have to know my
Jesus
last name. That's
Christ.
okay.
Tom.
I blanked on it for a second. I've only
that's
ever
fine.
read it on Facebook. When do you ever use somebody's
My last name is not on Facebook.
Oh, well,
and
there
therefore
you
would have never seen my last name ever.
Where did I see your last name?
I don't know.
Oh God, well that's
interesting.
That's
I don't
creepy.
know. Yeah, my middle name is on Facebook for some reason, but I made that choice. You know, when you just make these choices and then they just sit on the internet, and then they're just still there a while later, and you're like, okay, that choice is still there. But
like my MySpace
But then
page.
what is your real name? Facebook you is so much more the real you these days because of the social medias and the internet.
Nope.
That's true.
Are you
Nope.
gonna start snapping,
That's all
Justin?
true.
Is this...
That was turning into Bill Cosby.
No.
Oh, wait, no, we can't do that.
Oh,
We're going to
God.
talk about one thing related to that.
I think it's his pork pie
Two
hat's
things.
His pork pie hat's getting to him.
Don't blame the pork pie hat. The pork pie hat did nothing.
The pork pie hat triggered the Cosby kill switch in Justin's brain.
Oh, God. It has been some, might I say, wacky weather these past few whiles.
It's been fucking insane.
Yeah. It's so, hot. That's normal. We've been through that. Nobody cares about that. Why am I talking about it?
I care.
For the first time in my life, there have been like multiple tornado warnings
In this area, so if you're not familiar with where we live, it's South Jersey, Pennsylvania area. We don't get tornadoes here.
No, we're hurricane babies, we're heat waves, we're blizzards, but tornadoes. What's next?
It's going to be a flood. The amount of rain we have had has been. There's just like the trees are coated with like lichen and moss. There's just moss on the sides of trees everywhere.
It's
Moss-pocalypse.
The moss will take over probably. It'll cover our homes and our children.
It's
man.
like biblical level stuff. The other day I was leaving work and I turned around and I saw a lady turn to a pillar of salt.
Hang on, Justin.
Wait.
What?
That
You
sounds like
turned
a little
around.
Old Testament fib.
You turned around and looked at a lady, and the lady turned into a pillar of salt.
Yeah.
That's not how that
That is the
goes.
story.
And then God told me to
That's the
kill my
story.
kid.
Lot's wife turned into a pillar of salt.
Did you do it?
That's the story. The lady turns to the pillar of salt.
When she looks back at the city.
Oh, I got it backwards.
Yeah, as
no,
did
you're-
Justin.
Yeah. No, Justin,
no
you're wrong.
wonder God is raining vengeance down upon us.
We don't even know the actual stories, and that's why we're all heathens.
It's true, and that's
God
why
loves
we're
heathens.
turning this into a Christian podcast to
Are
spread
you
the good
serious?
word.
To save the world from
Species is
from the
doomed.
disasters.
Let's go.
So what's up, everybody? Besides dodging tornadoes, I kind of want to pose that question to Justin first, so we can have some context as to why he's so loopy.
I did not sleep last night for multiple reasons.
Tell me more.
It got to a point where I couldn't go to sleep, so I was like, oh, I have to get up early anyway, so I'm not going to go to sleep. And now I'm this being here.
We did have like a 3-hour thunderstorm. Did that keep you up?
Are you scared of the thunder booms?
No, I had a thunderstorm in my head of emotions.
Oh, okay.
This is off to a great start, everybody.
We could just talk about our feelings
Why are you
the whole
feeling that
time.
It used
We
to be a
want.
segment. We used to have a feeling segment, Rachel.
Oh, good. What happened?
And then we quickly ended the feeling segment because we realized that the only feeling we had was depressed?
I see.
Question mark?
We have lots of despair.
Yeah.
We have kind of good news and kind of horrible news to talk about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally. No, yeah. I can't even. You start, Frank.
No, famous Wall Street financier Jeffrey Epstein has been indicted on charges of sexual abuse of minors. Mr. Epstein was previously convicted of pedophilia and served a 13-month, sort of garnished house arrest sentence. And he was friends with Mr. Donald J. Trump and Mr. Bill Clinton, and they were on the manifests of his plane that was used to ferry people from island to island where they would engage in sex trafficking of minor children. No one's reading that today?
Yeah, I missed that one.
You missed that one? That's a big one. Because it might actually bring down the president, because he is longtime friends with Mr. Epstein and has appeared on the manifest of his private charter flights multiple times.
Wow.
Now, this is news to me, and I have to look into it and see what's going on, but I'm just really surprised and kind of delighted that you still think anything will bring down this president.
That's true.
It's adorably optimistic of you, Frank.
It is. It's pretty up to. No, but so Jeffrey Epstein was actually convicted in 2008, and the federal prosecutor who convicted him gave him a magnificent sweetheart deal, where he basically only had to be in prison for 6 hours a day for 13 months. And Mr. Acosta, the federal prosecutor who convicted him and gave him that deal, is now our Secretary of Labor under Donald J. Trump. So we talk a lot about Season 1 of True Detective on this show, and that's because Season 1 of True Detective is basically real.
Yeah.
And happens all the time.
Might I be the first person to say, no!
Like the sheriff on that boat.
That's a reference.
Speaking after he watches the tape.
Listen. Listen.
But no, he's been indicted on federal charges again, so he might very well start talking and start gabbing about who else was on that plane, those very public manifests, and give federal prosecutors some information about what might be going on with the sex trafficking ring that he used to run.
Well, as I guess that's how you prefaced this little tidbit, which is exciting but terrible.
Yes.
I am
exciting but terrible.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Very interesting.
No, I just put the article in there.
Okay.
Article in chat.
Oh, I'm reading it. Oh.
But no, it's exciting that powerful people are being held to account for the horrible shit that they do. But it's terrible that we realize how deep that it goes, and that people like Bill Clinton and Alan Dershowitz and President Donald J. Trump were potentially involved, at least peripherally, with all of this.
Frank, I wouldn't worry, because we live in a country where brave citizen soldiers will take matters into their own hands and just like that.
And just go to the pizza shop.
Just go to the pizza shop. And take care of it for us.
Comet Ping Pong Pizza, ladies and gentlemen.
Pizzagate. Rachel, what's going on in your life?
What's going on with you? I'm sorry.
No, not too much. Not too much. I was going to ask actually. So what? So he just was indicted for it. So what?
Yes, he was indicted on new charges.
Okay.
To avoid double jeopardy type stuff.
Right. So what point are we at? When this just happened?
It just happened yesterday.
Okay. Just curious.
So the feds literally brought him up on other criminal charges. So he was just doing more stuff.
Gotcha.
In the time after the other charges. And I also think that there was new evidence that came from an extensive FBI investigation, and you can re-indict people based on new charges for new evidence reasons. So I think the feds, they convicted him the first time, and then they never really gave up because he got such a weak sentence.
Right. Well, that's good. It's good they didn't give up, because I feel like that stuff happens literally all the time, and no one cares about it. So, because our justice system is trash.
It's completely fucked. Although before we end this segment, I forgot to bring this up.
Oh God.
Janet Weiss left Sleater Kinney, rather.
Oh.
Yeah,
in a very public fashion.
Very public. All I read was the initial thing, and it wasn't as nice as you would think if it was completely
amicable.
Yeah, it was due to creative differences. I'm out. See you later.
The interpretation, I think, is she did not like the St. Vincentified Sleater Kinney.
Yeah, I can't blame her. Especially of all the drummers in the world, Janet Weiss, who's very groove-based, very improv-based, lots of fills, lots of ghost hits. She's very, jazzy. For her to be, locked up in, a quantized, pop groove just seems totally against her will. And, I saw that Instagram post, too, and I just saw all of these verified musician accounts, commenting, all love and power to you, and, whatever you do next. And I was just thinking to myself that, yeah, they're all, being supportive, and they're all quietly thinking to themselves, this means she's available.
Get Janet Weiss to drum on your record, man.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. She's my favorite Jick Emeritus. Maybe she'll go back to that, or maybe this means another Quasi tour. That would be fun.
Were there other famous Jick Emeritus people?
The only other one is their first drummer, who is the drummer of Modest Mouse.
Oh, okay.
So, there you go. I just wanted to say Jick Emeritus.
Okay. But yeah, she's gone and that feels kind of seismic to me, because her drumming is such an integral part to Sleater Kinney.
Yeah.
It's gonna be. It's made me less excited for the new record.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be bad.
Yeah. She left for that reason.
She left after it recorded.
But she's on the record. But I'm assuming
she's on the record, but she's not going to tour it.
Okay.
It's like Jeff Skurlock leaving Flaming Lips when they made The Terror, and 90% of that record was a Farfisa drum machine.
Yeah.
It's like...
Did anyone leave the Flaming Lips after Wayne Coyne revealed himself to be a racist weirdo?
Also Jeff Skurlock.
Okay.
He called his shit and they fired him.
That sounds about right.
I think it's how that went down.
Oh, anyway, Rachel, sorry for this tangent. We'll get you back in the conversation.
Slothrust, right?
Into a bottle. I wish that I was a baby, sucking on myself, looking down to the water. I thought that maybe I could be the lake's daughter, because I float like an infant inside a bed.
Cool album. I enjoyed it very much.
Have you? So who has like already listened to them before this? Like,
Not me.
I've been huge into this album for like 6 months.
cool.
Oh, wow. This was my first listen
Oh.
this past week, and I dug it very much. Might become my new sound of the summer, because it's very like... We can talk into it more as it happens, but like as the segment actually occurs. But it felt very like seasonally appropriate in a weird way.
Yeah, it's kind of like energetic, but also like
Kind of sad.
yeah, and like charming at times. It's like this interesting combination of like charming and intense, and like they carry you through with the charming to the really intense portions, and like because you've been kind of seduced, you allow yourself to go there. Even if you're not like into, it's not that heavy, but even if you're really not into heaviness at all, you can still kind of get there. So
Yeah.
Name of the band is an amalgamation of the lead singer Leah Wellbaum's first band called Sloth Box and Rust to signify time passing. Source cited Wikipedia.
there you go.
Mystery solved.
And that's kind of like a lot of the metaphors on like throughout the album. I feel like are kind of like that. You know?
Yeah,
That makes
it's
sense.
about time, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing about this album, which I love. Which a lot of it is very grungy, kind of musically heavy rock. But there's such wonderful lyrical imagery that you rarely find in this kind of music that really struck me the first time I heard them. I first heard them being played on XPN, and the song "The Last Time I Saw My Horse," and it blew me
Letter
away.
in the bargain bin. I thought I saw some dentures, horsey teeth, human teeth. I heard a rumor you were frozen underwater molecule.
Because it's this 6/8 groove,
Clusterfuck.
which is always a good thing to do. And it's just this what's the word? You know the one where things are all like wacky and weird. You know?
Surreal.
Surreal.
It's super surreal. Yeah. Yeah. It's wacky and weird. It's surreal.
It's weird and
Oh,
wacky.
wacky and weird. That could be comedy. That could be Commedia dell'arte.
It's a weird, wacky song about like a dead horse and like horse teeth and human teeth.
Dentures in the
Dentures.
bargain bin,
Exactly.
being vomited by the ocean.
They're all just wacky and weird.
It's
like
a weird,
Judd Apatow
wild,
film.
wacky world.
Oh, Justin, you kind of stole my observation a little bit. I listened to this album for the first time this week, and it was a little garagey
Yeah.
and like noisy and a little heavy, which I like a lot. And I listened to a fair amount of pretty similar music, like garagey stuff like Ty Segall, bands that are on like Silk Breeze, what was their name? Crap. The OCs. Kind of heavy, garagey type stuff.
Wait,
but they don't have like
Phantom Planet.
California, California, here we come.
It's a big part of the show.
Beautiful.
God damn it.
Wow.
But
I wish I
so
could have
those types
joined
of like heavy garagey bands
time.
don't often have lyrics that have thematic elements to them or like a through line
Yes.
of an emotional context.
Yeah, and something as simple as just seeded throughout the imagery of water. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which
This is kind of a concept album a little bit, I feel.
I think it by its nature of that simple creative choice, she turned it into a concept album, even if it just it's being held together by that single string, which works perfectly with the dream logic and dream imagery between everything, because I can't necessarily tell you what this album is about. I can give you impressions and images and feelings that it evokes within my simply human soul. And this album...
Fucking Did the pork pie hat just influence this turn in your sensibilities?
My new name is Justin Pork Pie Guy.
Like the toupee made from snake's hair in the classic Treehouse of Horror episode.
Yes, horror episode.
The felt has infiltrated Justin's brain.
See, this is just normal for me. I have nothing to compare it to, so this is just normal, emotional Justin. And it's wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you for your
insight
support.
onto this album
Yeah,
than
of
Justin,
course.
please take over.
Yes.
Somebody with better insight into this album than Justin, please take over. This is not pie hat influenced.
Well, I think, like you were talking about time and how it's talking about time a lot, and I think you can see a progression from birth to death a lot, and I mean in individual songs, but then also from the beginning to the end, kind of like the last song is kind of this acceptance of all of the traumas that have been kind of evaluated throughout all the other songs, I feel like. And kind of accepting in our relationships that we have these difficulties, but at least we're together in our difficulties with another person. Because I feel like every song is so relationship based, and yeah, but there's like more of a tension in a lot of the other songs, like explicit tensions, whether they're with romantic lovers or parents or friends. So there's all these tensions that occur throughout, and then it ends in kind of this acceptance of those tensions. Our honey-covered wings, that we're all gonna we can't fly anywhere, but we're together with our honey-covered wings that are heavy. So,
And I've got an open wound. Wanna suck the poison out? Will you suck the poison out? And I would spread my wings if they weren't so goddamn heavy. Yeah, I would spread my wings if they weren't coated in honey.
Honey-covered wings.
I don't think that's not the exact quote. They weren't covered in honey. I would. What is that?
I would spread my wings if they weren't covered in honey or something like that.
Yeah.
But I was just going to make a dumb joke about wanting to eat chicken wings with honey on them. But I can't because I'm vegetarian. So the record's from 2016. It is their third record. They are from Boston, and they are on Danger Bird Records. And let's talk about the album art a little bit.
Yes.
Because I just remembered we had a harebrained idea about making that a segment. So the the album art for this is a picture of what I think is from looking at it with my eyes. A picture of an industrial tumbler. No, I take it back. That looks like saltwater taffy.
Yep.
It's definitely saltwater taffy.
All right, well,
which
that's-
references the ocean. The ocean is throughout. It's like this direct link to the water and
thematic
the ocean.
elements.
Yeah.
Well,
Right?
It's saltwater taffy.
apparently it was a Warshak
I'm looking at it
test.
close up. It's saltwater taffy.
Apparently this was. I just really want to see a rock tumbler when I look at things.
Oh, that could be. No, it looks like that too.
Yeah, I mean,
Thanks,
I think
guys.
that's, no, I think that's completely valid, Tom.
Thank you.
No, but truly, it looks like broken plaster. It looks like bits of gravel. It looks like
Saltwater taffy.
saltwater. It looks like, I'm honestly like used condoms. I'm not. You know what I mean?
What?
No, but
No. No.
Kinda. It looks gritty. It looks like it's
yeah.
something.
Yeah.
It's something deceptively.
If you
'Cause
looked at it from far away,
all
it
the
would be-
taffies
yeah.
are the same color, the same
Except-
hue, the same
except for
flavor.
one.
Except one that's a little.
Except for one.
There's one that's a little darker blue up top.
But that I think that thematically fits in. Here's something saltwater taffy. That's something it's nostalgic. It's pleasant. Remember it from childhood. It's water based, but there's also sugar in it. It's oriented in a way that is a little confusing. B, kind of reminiscent of something less pleasant, something less happy in childhood like used condoms, Justin.
what?
Jesus Christ.
What?
That's a good point. It does. I see
I
it.
kind of see it.
Like you're
I don't
walking
know.
down, like you're walking down a boardwalk, You see some used condoms, like a whole shit ton, all in a pile.
That reminds me of one of my favorite Futurama jokes. I went to Coney Island Community College. Go Whitefish! Coney Island Whitefish is the name for used condoms, ladies and gentlemen.
Also from the same vernacular, the name for garbage maggots is disco rice.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Anyway, this album reminds me of disco rice. No, so there's a tension in this record, and I think with this band in general, listening to other of their music, which is they like to rock.
They do.
And that desire to rock, I sometimes think is at best juxtaposed and at worst perhaps a little bit in conflict with sort of the more concrete and concise lyrical content. It seems like a lot of these songs, what's the song? Is it Mud? I think it's Mud. Mud is an example, but also is Seahorse or Horseshoe Crab?
Horseshoe Crab.
Horseshoe Crab.
My favorite song on the record, actually.
I feel like that record, or song rather, accomplishes what it wants to do emotionally before the big rippin' rock build.
I'll agree with, I'll kind of agree with that. I kind of love the album sometimes in spite of
The rippin'.
See, I don't know. I feel like a lot of the emotional content is very cathartic, and some of the like surf rock proggy stuff, especially the opening song, which is an instrumental, which is pretty.
It's called
proggy.
Surf Goth.
Yeah, it is literally called that. But like, I think it's supposed to feel energizing and cathartic.
Yeah.
In contrast to the lyrics that are often very introspective, and then they move to a more cathartic place.
This isn't even really a dig, but because nobody can get 100 on a test, not in my class. I feel like
unless they're Paul Simon. You love Graceland.
I do love Graceland.
It's
but
terrible.
But it's what? All right, no,
Oh, no.
Stop
Okay.
baiting me, Frank. Yeah, we'll do that later.
Rachel, I apologize. This antagonism must be boring.
It's
No
a
worries.
big part of our show, apparently.
Yeah.
Anyway, no. So okay, if my note to them that they don't ask for is that I think that Leah Welbaum, who is the lead singer guitarist, sometimes I think she's stronger on the lyricist vocalist side, and her guitar solos, of which there are not few.
Yeah, there are a lot.
I think they aren't equally cathartic or emotional to her vocals and lyrics. So I think they're a little light on melody, and they're a little light on expressiveness. It's a lot of just hitting chords with a clean sound.
I love that. I love them.
Yeah.
I love her guitar solos so much. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I feel like I need to figure out some constructive thing to say of why I love them.
You can just tell Tom to fuck himself. It's,
No, I like that.
Dumb and wrong.
That's
Yeah.
also a totally acceptable option on this podcast.
Because I feel like they're just so like, because I feel like when it gets too intense and too hard sometimes, because there are times when that happens for me depending on like what mood I'm in when I'm listening to this album. I've listened to this album a lot of times, but sometimes those the cleanness of the solos are what really kind of keeps me like hooked sometimes, and not even the lyrics. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Well, no.
You have been chastened, sir.
Yeah. I mean, I checked out some of their music from different records, and like on a more recent record, there's a song with like a bass guitar solo, and it's like, I don't know, when does that happen anymore?
Well, I mean, that's an important part of their DNA, which is they are a college music major band. You know,
Yeah, for sure.
they are.
You can tell.
Yes, I mean, completely different, but I can feel the same thing that I get from like Cake. You know what I mean?
Ooh, wow. Okay.
Not
Yeah.
musically, but like that. These are all musicians who
They're
are
nerdy
Yes, exactly.
about it. Yeah.
There's a consistency to it as well with the musicianship and the way it sounds. There's none of that kind of like scrappy underdog indie rocker vibe. This is like, it has 90s influences, which throughout, including the in the one music video where they the last shot is one of those S's you used to draw in your notebooks.
Yeah.
We'll put it on the camera roll, but it's got none of that kind of it's all we can talk about pavement esque sloppiness. You know what I mean? It's all tight. It's all there. There's no there's no catch in the throat, drop a note in the guitar solo. It's all bright and clear as a bell.
Here's something that I came to the conclusion driving over here and listening to it, that I was thinking, like, why do I love this so much? And I recognize something within this, and it has to do with her kind of unaffected vocal delivery, and also how internal this album is lyrically, while also being having so much fantastic imagery. That this is what the Handsome family would be if they didn't pick up on the whole country thing. This is very much the Handsome family's first album. If if they had continued along that way into 2016.
Or stayed in the 90s, because I think that record happened in the 90s, didn't it?
That happened, yeah. That's what I'm saying, and I think that has a lot. It's just like there's such strong images, which I don't want to be like an old guy, but I wish people would use images more.
Well, one of my all-time favorite bands that I'm currently wearing a T-shirt for uses very strong images. The Mountain Goats, ladies and gentlemen. Very strong lyrical imagery there.
You don't have to talk like Wallace Shawn anymore, Frank. that was last week.
So how do you feel about The Little Prince?
Oh, God.
Tell me more.
Inconceivable. I don't know.
That's what.
I'm sorry. I apologize. This is just what we do. This is just what this podcast descends into sometimes.
That's what your action figure will say when you pull the string. Inconceivable, etc.
That's my Woody.
I have a question for us musicians. And Frank, I want
which there is only you guys, right?
three of us, and
I am not.
And you in your soul, I can see it in your eyes. Give us a song, Frankie, my boy.
No.
But so I love this album. This is not the kind of music that I make or would want to make. I love it completely. And I think it was only recently that I kind of broke out of this idea that I only listened to music that was like music I wanted to make. And I've always been interested in how musicians listen to music. Where do you come at it from? Are you like a hungry hippo gobbling up influences to use in your paintbrush store when you're on the canvas?
Okay. Put the pork pie hat.
Getting away from you. Right away.
Put the hat back on, Justin.
No, that's a really good question though about how people approach, and especially with the fact that we have access to like this unbelievable amount of music that I feel very overwhelmed by at times. It's a really good question. I feel like I try to vary it. I listen to like some things that I'm like, I want to make this music, please. But then like I have to listen to like a ton of different weird eclectic things, or else it would just, I don't want to exactly copy anyone, right?
Yeah.
So.
Tom?
Oh god. No. I don't think too much about whether or not I want to make a certain kind of music when I am hunting for music that I like, but pretty invariably I'll start wanting to make music more like the thing that I've stumbled on. And if I really like it, I will have a very obvious, embarrassingly obvious like phase where my musical output is very influenced by whatever a big thing is. Like I had a pretty glaringly obvious Talking Heads phase, and I think you could argue that a significant chunk of my music lately is in my Deerhoof phase. So look, I just started listening to the Guided by Voices, so maybe I'll kind of
Hell yeah,
Air 5
great band.
return to center. I mean, for sure there are things I listen to that I wouldn't dare to be like, but at the same time, it's it all goes in the big salad bowl. You know what I mean?
Totally.
You know
It
what I
does. It impacts it. I feel like it impacts it regardless of what it is, or if you can even track the how of how it's affecting it.
Like, I'll never write a song that anyone will go, that sounds like Joni Mitchell, but like there'll be like something somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's how humans like we learn that way. We are little sponges still as adults.
Little sponges. I don't know.
Frank, how do you listen to music? And I've also been interested in that, of like non-musicians.
So it's very much in line with my regular sort of aesthetic consumption, is that I'm always afraid of being bored with what I'm listening to or what I'm watching. You know?
I'm so bored.
Which is why I won't listen to Paul Simon.
Hey!
What is this? What is this against Paul
I like a couple
Simon?
of his songs. But anyway,
Paul Simon is an American treasure. My friend
Art Garfunkel's the real talent. Is my
he's got a beautiful voice and he's a great actor, but there's not ever. You just have.
He does have.
You just gotta give him a chance, Frank.
Paul Simon is the better songwriter. Art Garfunkel can't write songs for shit.
Oh no.
But anyway, so I'm always like,
Shots fired.
What is happening
right now?
I don't know.
How do you listen to music, Frank?
I don't know. So I always kind of try to like try on new things in terms of aesthetic experiences with songs. So I wouldn't know if I liked or disliked Japanese noise rock if I didn't at least try to listen to the Boredoms. So I want to try to listen to the Boredoms.
But doesn't that terrify you?
Oh yeah, no, you could put in a clip from Acid Police here. That's a crazy song.
Acid police, rested smells, so and done, burning sun.
By the way, did you guys, speaking of Justin's joke there, did you guys know that the first Radiohead album was the name of it, Pablo Honey, is a reference to a Jerky Boys prank call?
Oh.
No, also, what is Jerky Boys? Also, what?
The Jerky Boys were two dudes from New York who made records of them prank phone calling people around New York City. They were like platinum selling. They made a movie called The Jerky Boys Movie starring Alan Arkin as a mob boss who was the villain. Anyway, folks, you don't have to know that information. But what I was saying was, so I'm always kind of afraid of being bored with the stuff that I'm consuming. So I'm like trying to try on new things. So do I like Japanese noise rock? A little bit, but not that much. Do I like Ethiopian jazz? A lot. So I like Mulatu Estatke and a lot of Unstoppable Beat of Soweto compilation album type things. I like a lot of garage rock and post-punk, but I wouldn't have known that if I didn't try it. So I'm always kind of trying to find new things that I find enjoyable. And if I don't find them enjoyable, then all I did was waste 20 minutes listening to something I didn't like. And with the internet, you can get everything for free. So there's little to no monetary cost to trying things nowadays, musically. So I don't feel like there's a risk at trying to listen to new stuff.
Sometimes I don't know if 20 minutes is enough. With Joanna Newsom, for example, I listened to a lot of Joanna Newsom with Tim on the way on a drive somewhere, and I was like, what is happening? I did not like it at all. And now I really, really like Joanna Newsom. So
she's great.
If
and
I
there's a previously established filthy joke on the show.
No, come on! Jesus
Joanna
Christ!
Newsom. That I won't quote, but it's out there in the ether.
God damn you, Frank. God damn you, straight to hell. As for me, all I listen to is Tom Waits.
No, but I think of what you said, going back, about how this kind of music isn't usually so introspective. I think this album talks a lot about trauma, a lot about how we deal with trauma and through, not great ways like dissociation, and then how it can impact our future relationships through codependence and things like that. I think there's a lot. Maybe I'm just, projecting that onto this, but I think there's a lot of that in here, which I think is really, really good, and I really liked it a lot.
Yeah,
the hundreds of times I've listened to it.
Nice.
So.
One of those pieces of art that this is kind of enriched my life. It made me think about things a little more, which is kind of rare and special.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of, especially in different like fields of service and things. I work in kind of like nonprofit foster care stuff, and there's a lot of trauma is becoming much more of an informative part of how these situations are approached, and like everybody has their traumas, so it's kind of a universally applicable album in that way. So yeah.
No, I literally just listened to it for the first time this week. I was really glad that I listened to it, and it's going to be like a regular rotation thing, I think, for me, because I enjoyed it so much.
Fuck this band. Speedy Ortiz is better.
What? You don't like Speedy Ortiz.
I know I
told
don't.
me that.
They're also from Boston and sound like the Pixies.
Yeah, but they're better than the Pixies because the Pixies are trash.
Oh.
We got to it. Yeah.
So, what do we think of this album?
We've gotten away from this, but like we have to protect ourselves legally by rating the album, so it's a review show.
Oh,
so
I see.
Rachel.
Yes. What's my rating?
Hold on. I have to think of the scale. Hold on. Nope. Brain is not functioning. Give me the
Five pork pie hats. Out of 5 pork pie hats.
Out of 5 pork pie hats, how many fedoras don't you give this?
Wait.
0.
0. That's a perfect score.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Perfect score.
Yeah.
Good job, Slothrust.
Yeah.
Justin, out of in a penalty kick shootout between this record and the new Courtney Barnett, how many goals does it score?
What? I mean, I think I know what you should answer, but
Sports.
Soccer is a low-scoring game.
12.
Pick a low number.
Oh, Justin.
No, that's a high score.
1.
Well, you've made your feelings
I like
known.
this album a lot. I love it.
Frank, out of 15 indictments against
financier Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh my.
how much money is bail for this record?
I'm going to put him off of cash bail, and I'll put it at 3 mil.
3 million. 3 million for Frank, and I give this record a 7.
Out of what?
It's an absolute measure, like Kelvin.
It's a really good record. I enjoyed it a lot.
Okay, shut up, Frank. So, do you have a recommendation song, Justin?
I wanna recommend to you a thing I said or did or do. Will you listen to the thing and then we'll read a thing together? I love you, yes you do. Who is me? I am you. What are we? We are people. So,
Shit. So, Rachel, this is the thing about Justin Todera, is that he just sings songs
It's excellent.
about stuff.
Cool. I dig it.
that's what I do.
Seems like a special gift. A special talent.
Thank you. Completely ad hoc. Shit.
I would like to recommend, both Tom and I are on parallel tracks of revisiting the mysterious town of Twin Peaks. And I would like to recommend the 2015-16 Mark Frost book, The Secret History of Twin Peaks, which
Don't have to read it.
it's I think it's a wonderful standalone piece of alternate history with sci-fi elements. It stands on its own as a wonderful book, but it also really enriches your experience, especially of Twin Peaks: The Return, as well as filling in the gap between the original Twin Peaks and the third season. And it really shows you how much we forget that it truly was a collaboration between David Lynch and Mark Frost, and Mark Frost is left out of it way too much. He is a huge part of the DNA of Twin Peaks, and much like Fire Walk with Me is a distilled essence of David Lynch's Twin Peaks, The Secret History of Twin Peaks by Mark Frost is the distilled version of Mark Frost's Twin Peaks. So read that book. Listen to the audiobook. It's got a bunch of the cast from the show, and it really makes the character of Tamara Preston from The Return come alive, because she's the compiler of the book.
Yeah, and she's in a band, right? Like, she is a...
Yeah, she's just a singer. It's a different actress in the audiobook.
Oh, okay.
From her, but we'll get to it. We're gonna do some sort of Twin Peaks thing.
We'll get to it someday. We've been talking about it forever.
Yeah.
Rachel?
The Field Guide to Getting Lost by Rebecca Solnit. It's very good. Kind of it's like a mixture of memoir and history and philosophy in there, kind of a little bit. And it's just really excellent. It's the best, the only way someone should write a memoir, I really think. It makes reading any other memoir type of situation just incredibly boring. So they're like kind of like 7 essays, so they all kind of can stand alone, but then they all also go together. And the way she follows ideas throughout her essays are just so magnificent and well done. So Rebecca Solnit, anything by her is good to read, especially Field Guide to Getting Lost.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Tom?
Yeah, I'm gonna recommend, as I want to do, a YouTube channel, an infotainment YouTube channel. I'm not sure if it's really that. It's pretty popular. You may have heard of it, but it's called How to Make Everything. And a few years ago, there was this viral video where this guy decided to make a chicken sandwich, but he decided to make it utterly from scratch. And it took him something like 8 months and $1,500 in expenses to like gather the salt from an ocean and grow the wheat for the bread and raise a chicken and slaughter it. But then he decided to continue on in this vein, and it's a fascinating channel. It's kind of, I wouldn't say it's blowing up, but it's definitely becoming institutionalized with its popularity. And it's just this very endearing, awkward Midwestern young man. Is going to call him a kid, but he's probably like 24 or 5. And he literally makes things utterly from scratch. And the thing I really enjoy about his channel versus other things like this is that he shows every failure along the way. And it shows him having to start from scratch, something not working, having to go to school on a different subject to make, glass or metal or etc. And it's kind of interesting to see how many wrong turns there are in any kind of endeavor. And it makes for very good viewing. So How to Make Everything. It's on the internet. Frank?
Cool. So I am going to recommend a television adaptation of a comic that I've recommended before on this show. I'm going to recommend the TV show Doom Patrol.
That looks fun.
It's incredible. It's like, it takes the strengths of the comic and goes further because it adds sort of alternative elements to it. So Doom Patrol, as I talked about many, many months ago, was originally a comic from the 60s that was readapted to the 90s by a writer named Grant Morrison, who inserted like alternative sexuality and pagan magic and postmodernism to the comic about the sort of quote-unquote world's strangest superheroes. And he made it very much about trauma and getting over physical and mental trauma, and how these big, weird superheroes from the 60s were just traumatized adults dealing with society in the 90s. And so the 2019 show sort of adapts it even further. It's a little more sex positive. It's better about gender, and it's better about like the LGBT spectrum than the comic was in the early 90s. And it's interesting, it's funny, it's well acted, it's well written. It's got like a little bit of a low rent FX budget, which is unfortunate, but that's fine. Brendan Fraser is Robot Man, hilariously.
Nice.
He does a great robot voice. And Timothy Dalton is the Chief Niles Calder, which is amazing.
I'm just happy
And
they're both working.
Yeah.
Yeah, the lady who plays Crazy Jane, Diane Guerrero, is incredible. She plays multiple characters per episode.
Nice.
And it's a really good achievement. And Matt Bomer, the guy who plays Rebus, the Negative Man, is also really good. Doom Patrol. Check it out.
Nice. Frank, grab a screenshot of us right now, because this is a band picture, if I've ever seen one.
Yes. Wait, hold on.
Everybody look real bandy.
Moody.
Well,
Oh, shit.
Who's
Oh,
my-
that's a good one.
What's our band called?
you got
We look like a pulp cover band.
Kind of do. Which one of you? Well, no. The answer is Tom. Thomas
yeah.
Jarvis Cocker.
Yeah, I'm Jared Kicker.
Wait,
no, we gotta do plugs and recs.
Hey, everybody
plugs,
out there,
yeah.
listen to us. We're doing a thing. We're going to do some plugs. Everybody, do a dance. My name's Justin. I'm wearing pants.
You are wearing shorts, sir.
You're wearing shorts. You're not wearing pants.
Damn
God
it.
damn it.
Follow
I
us
can
on
see
Plaid-
Justin's luscious thighs.
Oh, God. Follow us on Plaidlands Pod on Twitter and Instagram and the Gmail. Fuck. You can find my music at welcometowonderfalls.bandcamp.com. I'm welcome to Wonderfalls. Welcome _to wonder on Instagram.
Oh, Christ, Justin, plug your own Instagram.
And also some things that made me cry on Instagram.
Cool. I, me, Tom, do music called The Elbow Ache, or Elbow Ache. There's no the. elbowache.bandcamp.com, and it's on Elbow Ache Music on the Instagram and the internet, and listen to my music. It's on Spotify. I get money that way. Rachel?
There's some music on SoundCloud. Inconsistent Chatter. SoundCloud. Search those words.
It's very good. Get into it.
Get into
Oh.
it.
It's very
Wonderful
thoughtfully
music.
composed, jazzy singing, intricate composition, and guitar playing. Frank, your Twitter, I suppose?
Yeah, no, I'm an employee of local government, so I have nothing to plug necessarily except my Twitter, which is at Frank McDevitt. My username currently is Intrusive Xi Jinping Thought. Tom is the only one who got that joke. I thought it was a pretty good joke.
It's pretty solid.
No, I got nothing else.
Cool. And please, for the love of God, rate and
Rate and
review
review
us.
us on iTunes, please.
Come on.
Do us a solid. It's like you're stealing from us by listening to our pod. And
Lindsay!
Lindsay Zool!
Rate and review us on iTunes, please.
Lindsay, thank you for rating and reviewing us, because you did. Get your sister to rate and review us.
Jamie.
Your brother Justin.
Jamie.
We share the same name. How about your mom and your dad? I don't know. They seem
Wait,
like
hold on.
nice people.
Let's pull it back there.
Everyone's entire family should probably listen.
Hey, Mom! Mommy! Daddy! Papa! Can you hear me? Are you listening to me? Do I
can you
make
hear
you
me?
proud?
Justin's brothers?
Hey, Christopher, how's it going? Josh! Amanda, hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Rate and review us!
Tom's cat. Please rate and review us
Hey,
on iTunes.
kid, where are you? Get over here.
Get over here, like Scorpion.
All right.
Christ.
All right, goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wait, thank you, Rachel, for coming on the show. You
Thanks
were
for
wonderful.
having me.
Rachel.
This was so
You were a very
nice.
pleasant guest.
Thank you.